everybody. So today we are going to be talking about signs intercepted in the chart. I got a question about this, and it's a good question. And I have done a video on this before, but it's old. It's really old. And I know that the older videos are, the harder they are to be found, to be circulated, all that shit. So I figured I'd do another one because it's been about a year or so. So I figured I'd do another one. Especially since this is a good question. But before I get to that, I want to throw out there that my class on Draconic Charts will be on Sunday, October 30th at 1 p.m. Central Time over Zoom. Class will take place over Zoom. The class is $40. You will get the recording of the class after class. You will get notes for the class before class. I always provide notes when I teach, so you will get notes, and you'll even get the homework that I'll be passing out to the students that are actually in the full course. This Draconic Charts class is part of a fuller course, a bigger course I'm teaching, past life and present mission course. But I wanted to open this specific class up to the general public because I do know that there are people that are very, very curious about the Draconic Chart, about how to work with it, about how I work with it. So I figured I'd open this particular one up for anybody that might be interested in it. In this class, you'll be learning how I work with it. Specifically how I work with it up against the natal chart, what I think is the most important stuff to look at, how I would read a comparison between the Draconic and the natal chart, and what different things in the Draconic chart can mean on their own, but what I think they mean anyway. So if you have any questions about this, feel free to email me at saturnseason@gmail.com, or you can shoot me a direct message on Instagram, or you can leave a comment here or whatever. Feel free to ask questions if you have any. And I will put the link below where you can purchase this class if you are interested in taking it. Again, it's Sunday, October 30th at 1 p.m. Central Time over Zoom. Okay, now that I've gotten that out of the way, this is the question that I got from somebody on Instagram. Question: when a person has interceptions, as I do, is there still only one lord to the intercepted houses? Or do you use all 2 to 3 lords for these houses? I have seen a very skilled astrologer use all of them, but I have been told to only use the cusp by random ones that I don't really know that well. I'm sure it's a preference like so much in astrology is, but I am curious what you think about this. And this is a good question because yeah, I've seen this too, where some people don't use all of them. I am somebody who does fuck with a lot of shit. so I do use both in the, but let me show you what, let me screen share for just a second. Okay. So first of all, this is just a chart. First of all, when you have a sign intercepted, like this person does, they have Capricorn intercepted in the first house, and they have Cancer intercepted in the 7th house. And what that essentially means is that Capricorn is not on a house cusp. Cancer is not on a house cusp. Gemini is on the cusp of the 7th house. Leo is on the cusp of the 8th house with Cancer in the 7th. Same thing on the other end of the axis. You have Sagittarius on the cusp of the 1st house. You have Aquarius on the cusp of the 2nd house, but Capricorn is not on a house cusp. This kind of, when you see signs intercepted, they essentially have, they're not bad or good, quote bad, quote good. They just are. But it does tend to show that this energy, right, the sign, these sign energies going on here are kind of, quote, locked away and not as easily accessible through a house of its own. And just so that everybody can have a refresher here about this, planets are what energy needs to be expressed. The houses are the houses are where or what area of life this energy is expressed through, and the sign is how this energy is expressed. So with Capricorn and Cancer on none of the house cusps, they have no areas of life with which to fluidly or easily express themselves through. And just so everybody's clear, if you've got like Cancer intercepted, Capricorn will be intercepted too. If you have Sagittarius intercepted, Gemini will be intercepted too. Like the opposite sign is always going to be intercepted. And you can see the interceptions. I know some people have a difficult time seeing this, like actually visually seeing it. You can come down here and you'll notice this little thing right here, like how it says like 28 degrees Sagittarius is the ascendant or the first house cusp. Second house cusp is 5 Aquarius. Well, Capricorn is somewhere between there, right? But it's not on a house cusp of its own. So this is kind of where you can, if it's harder to visually see the lines, right? See that it's intercepted with the on the actual chart, you can look down here and get an idea if something is intercepted, if there are signs intercepted or not. Now, in the question that they were asking, okay, so I count both here. I mean, obviously, like in the case of this person, Sagittarius is on the cusp of the first house. That makes Jupiter the first house planetary ruler and the chart ruler. Same thing with Gemini on the cusp of the 7th. That makes Mercury the seventh house ruler, planetary ruler. So you would always want to take that into consideration. But if you're talking about the intercept, you know, first you can look at intercepted signs from this lens too, from the lens of the planetary ruler of the sign locking that intercepted sign in place. But for interceptions, I generally do like to start with the planetary rulers of the signs that are intercepted. In this case, we would be looking at the moon because Cancer is ruled by the moon and Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. So we'd be looking at the moon and we'd be looking at Saturn. Now that's generally how I will start with interceptions, with intercepted signs. I generally like to look and see kind of where those planets are, what they're doing, because those particular planets are ways to unlock, quote, unlock the energy that's intercepted here. Like to unlock Cancer in the 7th house, the moon is where that will happen. To unlock Capricorn in the 1st house, Saturn retrograde in Aries in the 3rd is where that will happen. Now, you can also, I know that there are other astrologers that take a different approach to that. They will first look at the planetary ruler of the house cusp, right? So if you were to do that, you would be looking at Jupiter first and Mercury first. And there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody has their own approach. I will, though, personally, I will start with the planetary ruler of the signs that are intercepted. And then I'll look at like, in this case, I would look at Jupiter and Mercury, but I would always look at those. I would look at the planetary rulers of the signs intercepted first, and then look at the other ones. Now, in the case of interceptions like this, Saturn is not actually a planetary ruler of the 1st house. The moon is not a planetary ruler, is not the planetary ruler of the 7th house. Cancer is in the 7th house. Capricorn is in the 1st house, but there's only one planetary ruler of the house, or in some cases two, if you're talking about like Scorpio on the cusp of something, right? You could have dual rulership, Pluto and Mars. But in this case, I mean, like Saturn does not rule the 1st house. It's in the 1st house, but in the 1st house by way of Capricorn falling intercepted in the 1st house, but it's not actually the ruler of the 1st house. Just like the moon is not the ruler of the 7th. It's just involved with the 7th because Cancer is intercepted in the 7th. So there's only one or two, depending on the sign, planetary rulers of a house in question. So the intercepted, don't think of a sign or planetary rulers of the signs intercepted. Don't think of them as rulers of that house. I wouldn't do that. but they're definitely important to unlocking the sign energy in that house. For sure. Like, and a lot of the times all you've got to do, since these things work on an axis, right? A lot of the time, all you really have to do is unlock one of them, and then the other one kind of follows suit. Meaning, like in this person's case, they could really work hard with Saturn, and it would help to unlock Capricorn here, which would then help to unlock Cancer. Or they could really focus on their moon to unlock Cancer, which would also free Capricorn. If that makes sense. Now, this is an ongoing thing, right? Like, it's not like you unlock it once and poof, it's unlocked forever. We can still kind of slip back into ways of being. So it's kind of got to be a conscious thing, like consciously unlocking that energy, like Capricorn intercepted in the first. You know, there could be personal authority, right? Might be lacking. There could be some lacking there. Or for how to actually build that up could be lacking. And Saturn retrograde in Aries in the third could be a key to unlocking that. And let's say with Cancer intercepted in the seventh, there could be something, you know, Cancer energy can be a little, you know, it can be emotional, it can be moody, it can be, you know, nurturing, these kinds of things. And there might be something, you know, they might take more of a, say, a heady or logical, rational approach to, say, one-on-one relationships of all varieties, leaving the emotional part out. To some extent. Now I realize they also have an Aquarius moon, so emotions are a little different for this person as it is, but there's something getting, more than likely something getting left out here in terms of emotions. And how they come about in close relationships of all varieties. Same thing here with like mastery and responsibility and authority with Capricorn intercepted in the first. And so the keys here, the first keys that I would look for or look at would be the moon and Saturn. Now sometimes you'll end up with, like, let's just say, for instance, let's say that moon was in Capricorn, and let's say that Saturn was in Cancer. Like, you've got both intercepted, right? Both planets of the signs intercepted actually intercepted themselves. And I have seen this happen. This does happen. When I see that, that's when I'll start looking out at like the planetary ruler of the sign on the actual house cusp. That's when I'll start bringing those into play. That's when I'll start kind of looking at that. Now, let's say this person had like, let's say they had the moon in Capricorn intercepted, but Saturn is still where it is. In this case, I would be focused on Saturn specifically. In this person's case, they have both out of interception to work with. But sometimes you'll see either both intercepted, or you'll see one planetary ruler intercepted. And if it's if the planetary ruler of a sign intercepted is also intercepted, it's also not always as easy to work with, because it's kind of locked away. So yeah, keep that in mind too. Keep that in mind. But yeah, let me go ahead and stop screen sharing because I don't need to. Anyway, I hope to the person that asked this question that this was kind of helpful. I definitely think both should be obviously taken into consideration, but for like different reasons. And both should definitely be worked with for different reasons. And then you can bring that, you know, if you need to bring in the planetary ruler of the house cusp in question to kind of look for ways to unlock the planetary energy intercepted, you can definitely do that. Again, if for some reason both the planetary rulers of the signs intercepted happen to be intercepted themselves. But yeah, I hope this helped. I'm going to go ahead and get going, but I will put where you can find me below, and I will see you all later.